It is the night after the Oscars, and the day before St. Patrick's Day. And we're going to discuss today why it is that the four winds of sinners actually matters in this edition of a live stream for the movie Insurrectionist. Welcome, Insurrectionists. This is Rashad, the movie Insurrectionist. I'm here to talk to you all for this live stream. It's a little late, but I figured I would end this night with talking about Sinners. The Academy Awards was yesterday, and it was a very interesting Academy Award presentation and one of the most energetic Academy Awards in some recent times. The ratings have been down, and since the Chris Rock, Will Smith debacle of 2022, there hasn't been any interest at all in the Oscars. But this year was very anticipated. You had two primary films that were going at it, basically dealing with these two men. Let me go ahead and show you on the screen right here. It came down between Paul Thomas Anderson, who's on the left, and Ryan Coogler, who is on the right. Paul Thomas Anderson is the writer, director, producer of One Battle After Another. And then on the right side, you have Ryan Coogler, who is the writer, director, and producer, of course, of Sinners. Now, I'm not going to talk about this broadcast in terms of bashing One Battle After Another. If you actually saw my reviews of this film, there were certain problems I had with it. Although I am a fan of Paul Thomas Anderson's work, he's made some movies in the past that made me want to be a filmmaker. And it has been a long time since he's been in the industry. He is the contemporary of the likes of people like Quentin Tarantino, David Fincher, and the late, great John Singleton, all of those filmmakers that came out of the 1990s. And Paul Thomas Anderson was in that category. He should have won Best Director, in my opinion, for Magnolia, and as well as There Will Be Blood. But they gave it to it. They gave him those accolades for this particular Oscar ceremony, which I wasn't surprised by the way, but I expected it, which is one of the things that the Oscars typically do. I was no fan of this movie of One Battle After Another. You watch my review and I talk about it extensively. I didn't give it a good review because I thought that the imagery that was presented dealing with the black women in that particular story was problematic. There were some things about One Battle After Another that was good, in terms of the cinematography, in terms of the shots that were being done. But ultimately, I thought that the biggest problem was the presentation of black women. When you had all of these pro-black divesting swirlers, and Tiana Taylor's character, she portrayed her whole entire revolutionary unit led to Mexico, and she has this fetish for the liberal and conservative suspected white supremacists that you saw in that particular story. So some of the things are problematic, and I wasn't a big fan of it. But in general, and I've said this before, I am a fan of Paul Thomas Anderson's work. But I don't want to talk too much more about him. I want to speak more about Ryan Coogler, and why the four wins for Sinners actually does indeed matter. Why it matters. Sinners won 4 Academy Awards. First for Best Original Score by Ludwig Göransson. I believe that's how you say his name. He's a Swedish fellow. He actually did some work with Childish Gambino. Best Cinematography, Autumn Duran Arkapaw. And I'm going to talk about her in a little bit because her win is actually very important. Of course, Ryan Coogler being the second FBA or black person to actually win for Best Original Screenplay. First was Jordan Peele for Get Out, and then the big prize, the big surprise, and I had to eat my words because I honestly did not think he was going to win. Because, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, and that is Michael B. Jordan and his Best Actor win for the movie Sinners, playing the character of Stack and Smoke. So, one of the things I want to talk about and make this very quickly, I want to speak about about Autumn, about Ryan, and about Michael B. And why exactly that their wins actually matter for the industry. So, Sinners, and you saw my review when it first came out in April when I saw it last year. I was a big fan of this movie from day one. I gave it a very positive review. I said it was one of the best movies that I saw so far last year, and I think it was actually the best movie I probably saw last year, bar none. It was in my top five. Same with Weapons. Um, Same thing with Marty Supreme, which was actually a pretty good movie. But with Sinners, one of the reasons why Sinners is a film that deserves so much of the recognition that it has received is because of the fact that it has harnessed much of the energy of this FBA foundational Black American Renaissance that many of us are a part of. If you watch my channel for some times, I am foundational Black American, very proud to acknowledge that. And there's been a renaissance in this country where we talk about this. This movie takes place in the Delta. It is a motion picture that deals with the Robert Johnson myth, the myth of Robert Johnson, the character that Miles Canton plays, is supposed to be loosely based or an offshoot of Robert Johnson, who is the father of the blues, and who allegedly sold his soul for the devil for his parallel guitar skills. So this movie, so Sinners, is a horror film that deals with that, and it infuses much of our culture and much of our folk ways and more ways into this film. But let me explain to you why Sinners is important, particularly for the industry. Well, the obvious thing when we talk about Autumn Duran Archipel, she's, to my understanding, half FBA and she's half P9. She's Filipino. She is the first woman and first black woman and actually first Asian woman, if you want to be technical, to win for this award. So she's hyphenated in a lot of different things, which is kind of what she alluded to when she won her award and she told the women to stand up. Um, so that's actually important, and that's something that Sinners actually brought to focus for the entire world. That there isn't much representation for female cinematographers. There really isn't any representation for non-white male cinematographers. Period. Even when it comes to black men, there isn't a lot of representation for black men, even in the area of cinematography. I don't think there's been a black man who's ever won for best cinematography, to my understanding. I may be wrong, but I don't think there has been a black man that's actually won for best cinematography. But cinematography, one of the most important elements of filmmaking, because the cinematographer, of course, is the person that provides the look, the sound. I'm sorry, not the sound, but the look um, of the movie. They're in charge of the lighting. They're in charge of illustrating the shots that the director uh, wants to be seen in the film. Very, very important job. Next to the director, probably the most important job in terms of the person on set is the cinematographer. So this her win, her win, of course, might in fact open up more doors for more women to be cinematographers at this level. And of course, we definitely need more FBA black folks who are allowed to be cinematographers, because the cinematographer is the one that gives you the look for your particular film. All right. Moving to the next category, we got Best Original Screenplay, Ryan Coogler, excuse me. Now, Ryan isn't the first brother to win a Best Original Screenplay. I said earlier that the first was Jordan Peele for Get Out. But nonetheless, this win definitely is significant. One of my comments when I first saw this film is that I spoke about how well written this movie was. And I saw that when I first saw the film back in April. This is a very well crafted, well written motion picture, which indeed it is. Very well written. And one of the reasons why I say that is because you have so much context, historical context, that's placed into this movie. Historical context when it comes to the character Remick and him coming from Ireland, and you understand about the history of Ireland and the slavery that the Irish people dealt with from the period that Remick comes from. That's actually infused into the film. And then, of course, you have the history of Jim Crow and what was going on in the Jim Crow South, particularly in the Mississippi Delta during that time. You had the issue of colorism and the issue of the one drop rule of being black that was illustrated in this with the character that Haiti Stansfield played. And that's something that a lot of people, it went over their head. But you had and still had black people in the South that looked like her that could pass for being white. And it was a question that's still being asked today. What defines you being black within American society? Is it culture? Is it race? Because technically in American society, if you have one drop of black blood, especially during that time, you were considered to be black. And that's what you saw within the movie Sinners. And then you have parallels to what we see today, cultural appropriation, as well as connection to our ancestors and voodoo. You know, and then like I mentioned before, the Robert Johnson myth, which is what Sammy represents, him selling his soul to the devil for his parallel guitar skills, and his father being a preacher, not wanting to be a part of all of the sinful things that go on in the night, hence the title of the actual story. So Ryan, I could tell that he actually did a very thorough job in terms of writing this screenplay. Definitely best screenplay that I saw last year. Very well written story. Um, the other screenplays I saw that were great last year as well was Weapons. Weapons I thought was very well written, but I think that definitely Sinners was probably the best written story that I saw definitely last year. Now, the big elephant in the room is the man you see to the right on your screen, and that is Michael B. Jordan playing two characters, Stack and Smoke. And he won Best Actor for his efforts for playing these two characters. Now I'm going to say this. I've seen some of the comments where people have said that, well, why are we celebrating this? Michael B. Jordan is not the first actor to play twins in a movie. That's nothing revolutionary. Lindsay Lohan did it. Tom Hardy did it. Nicolas Cage did it. Even Jean-Claude Van Damme did it in Bloodsport. For those of you who, I'm sorry, in Double Impact, for those of you that saw it. The other Van Damme movie, not Bloodsport, but Double Impact. Even Van Damme did it. So why is this character any different? Well, I'll be perfectly honest with you. If I had a prediction video that I had to take it down, YouTube said it had copyright strikes, and I don't know why. It was nothing in it that was copywritten, but okay, I had to take it down. Um, but one of the things about this movie is that yes, this is not the first time you've seen an actor portray twins. Not the first time. And truth be told, I'm not going to even discuss um, the performance altogether, because what I was looking at is that Michael B. Jordan and his win for Best Actor is indeed something of a underdog story. Underdog in a sense that this is a young man, started off as a child actor, and then, of course, he hooked up with Ryan Coogler with the first movie that they did together, which was Fruitvale Station, where he played Oscar Grant, who was unfortunately murdered by the Oakland um, BART police. And then he went from that to Creed, to playing Killmonger, and then, of course, to this role. So you've seen, a progression with him. And a lot of people have never given Michael B. Jordan, in my opinion, the respect I think that he deserves as being a thespian. A lot of folks have always, and I've talked to a lot of people over the years, they've always said that he can't act. Um, he's not that great of an actor. All he is a handsome guy. Blah blah blah. But Michael B. Jordan is not someone who has any acting chops, and he showed within this film. And I don't think actually this is the best role that I've actually seen him in. I've seen him in other movies. To me, my favorite role of him is still playing Eric Killmonger. I think he steals the show in the Black Panther movie as Eric Killmonger. But Michael B. Jordan illustrated that he does indeed have acting chops. He is a thespian. He does belong in this industry, and he definitely belongs at the Academy Award. So I salute the fact that he won. I think it's a great thing that he won. I think it's a spectacular thing that he actually won. And you'll have more individuals as time goes on that will want to emulate Michael B. Jordan, more FBA black men who want to emulate Ryan Coogler, more FBA women who want to emulate Adam Archipel and get involved in this industry. Because historically, this industry has always marginalized black people and black stories. And there's been other great stories that have been passed upon throughout the years. I can remember even back in the '90s, one of my best friends I grew up with, he would always have some of the screeners from the Academy Award, from the Academy of Motion Pictures of Sciences, because his father, who does security and he installs security, a lot of these people were his clients. And I remember, back in the '90s, great films, like for instance, Dead Presidents by the Hughes brothers, which was actually considered for an Oscar nomination, but it didn't get it. And part of the reason why it didn't get it is because you had individuals in the Oscars who decided they just weren't going to watch the screeners. They literally told my best friend's father this. We can go ahead and take that because I'm not going to watch it. That's the attitude that many of these people have when it comes to the Academy Awards. Now, I'm not of the opinion that we need to go to the dominant society in order for us to get any sort of accolades. We can still create our own awards. And I think that we need to create our own content and have our own infrastructure to build our movies. But I think that Sinners is pushing the industry into a better direction, a much better direction, because this is a film, although it's a horror movie, but it's a film that deals with humanity. It deals with culture. It deals with respect for your ancestors, and also deals with spirituality, things that are important to us as a group of people. And these elements are on full display in this movie. It wasn't something that was nominated that was about black people being degraded, black people being treated as subhuman, black people exhibiting all of these tropes and stereotypes and archetypes that you see within the cinema, like you did within One Battle After Another. And that was a problem that I had with that particular film. But it was a movie that ultimately examined our humanity and showed us as real people. This film, I think, has had as much impact on the industry as Spike Lee's movie did back in 1986, but She's Gotta Have It appeared, and you saw virtually the disappearance of black cinema until his movie showed up. So to me, that is why Sinners is actually important. And I hope moving forward that the studios will produce more movies like this because they see there's an audience for it. They see that people will actually go and watch it. And this is a film that's not just a black movie. This movie made over $350 million worldwide. That's not a small amount of money. It was a rated R film, and it did those sort of numbers. So there is an audience for watching black people being seen as real human beings and not stereotypes. And I think that's the reason why Sinners is definitely important, and why we went out and supported it. And I'm actually grateful and impressed that the Academy Award acknowledged it. Because I'll be honest, I don't have much faith in the Academy Award, and I still don't. Because one year they can hail a movie like this and give it all these accolades, and then the next year they'll make the sequel to The Help. This is what they do. So I still don't have much faith in them. I still look at the Academy Award sideways at the fact that Delroy Lindo was snubbed for Best Supporting Actor, who I thought actually should have won. He was the one. He was the person that was on my prediction. I thought that he was going to win, but apparently they gave it to Sean Penn for the third time. And not saying that Sean Penn's performance wasn't good in one battle after another, but I have to ask the question: why does the Academy Award like to reward actors that always play racist? They get nominations for playing these bigots and white supremacists. They love to do that. Another example of a character that was nominated for, or an actor nominated for playing the racist was James Woods in the movie The Ghost of Mississippi, and also Edward Norton in American History X. So if you play a white supremacist or a suspected white supremacist, you might get a nomination. But if you're playing a blues man in a film about black people during the Jim Crow South, you might get snubbed. This is the kind of duplicity you see within the whole entire Hollywood system, and that's part of the reason why I personally don't have faith in them. But I do give credit where credit is due. They did give these. They did nominate and award these particular individuals, Michael B. Jordan, and I'm very proud of everyone that was involved in this project, and I'm happy for them. Definitely happy for them. So that's that. So with that being said, that's my 2 cents. I had my thoughts, and I'm sharing it with my audience about why I think Sinners is important. And those are the reasons why I think Sinners is important. And I hope this will reverberate and create much better projects that reflect our reality as FBA people moving forward in the Hollywood system. So I thank you for listening to this live stream. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. It's getting a little bit late, but I will see you soon. I'm going to put out some more content this week. So please like, share, subscribe to this channel. Make sure you press that bell icon. And check us out on TikTok and X. In the meantime, remember, the theatrical release will never be televised. I'll talk to you later. Take it easy.